Next up is the Wii PS2 Unleashed project demo by Joey P. All the Gaia temples are here, serving as the white space hubs, and most importantly, this mod features every Act 1 day stage in addition to Windmill Isle Act 2. The puzzle rooms in the Gaia temples are a work in progress, so there's only one in this demo. When you click New Game, you'll be dropped straight into Windmill Isle Act 1, and it's just as you'd expect. It's exactly the same layouts from the Wii or the PS2 versions. The Wii QuickTime events are here as well, which is a very nice touch. Let's get into some issues. The biggest issue I ran into is sometimes Sonic would not be able to turn or have any control under certain sections. This is particularly noticeable for me on Windmill Isle Act 2 and Cool Edge Act 1. The Ferris wheel and Eggman Land sometimes gets you stuck on the third homing attack. You're able to homing attack someone on one of the paths. On the path with the red ring, I could not survive after the coaster. For the mini-boss quick-step section, sometimes they could hit you if they were shooting their laser during a turn. In Arid Sands, I was sometimes clipping through the geometry at a certain area. Inconsistently, sometime when clicking continue from the main menu, you would spawn underneath the temple, die, and then respawn in the correct spot. In Cool Edge, if you get stuck in the spikes with the bobsled, you're just screwed. Outside of the control issue I mentioned at the very beginning, these are pretty minor issues. What's not a minor issue is this. Performance chugged for a moment, and then the game crashed. In Eggman Land, I fall into the lava, and then I hit start over. Upon restarting the stage, the music is gone. This happens in other stages as well, it's not just Eggman Land. On a separate attempt, I fall into lava again, I restart the stage. The music is still here, things seem fine. I'm playing through the stage, I turn, and bam, the game crashes. The reason I'm showing these two issues side by side is I think they're related. I got the most crashes when I was restarting a stage while already dying. In general, restarting stages seemed to make the performance worse and worse and worse until the game eventually crashed. I could kill the game completely and then replay the stage with no problem and have no performance issues at all. A side note, all instances where I crashed regardless of the stage, the call stack was the same. Unless you're constantly restarting the stage, I don't think you'll run into these crashes. 10 out of 10 for the inclusion of the Empire City sign. If you end up giving this mod a go into it with an open mind. You're gonna have to adjust your gameplay style, especially if you're used to the Generations and Unleashed HD style of gameplay. The SD version has a boost usage system rather than a boost hold system. It's a little bit different, so if you don't constantly boost, you need to use it more sparingly, you're gonna have a lot more fun. Especially for me, the first time I went through this mod, it was really rough. Then once I adapted my gameplay to be more like the Wii version, suddenly things went a lot better, they flowed well, and I was having a lot more fun. You've made it to the end of the video. The rest of this is just going to be the raw gameplay footage, as always, if the developer wants to see how I played their stages. Bye.
Bye.